Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and stared at the massive crystal being across from him. High Chancellor Vexthara towered over the human delegation like a living mountain of blue ice. Her voice came through the translation machine in waves that made his teeth hurt. "The Council appreciates humanity's enthusiasm," she said in that tone that made Jake want to punch something. "But your species remains too volatile for full membership. Perhaps in another century when you have matured." Jake looked at Lisa Brooks, who sat beside him. The young officer's jaw was tight with anger. Behind them, Admiral Frank Carter remained perfectly still, but Jake could feel the old man's rage like heat from a furnace. This was the same speech they had heard for 3 years. 3 long years of flying across the galaxy to sit in this pristine white room and listen to aliens tell them why humans were not good enough. Jake had memorized every word by now. "High Chancellor," Jake said carefully, "humanity has contributed more to galactic peace in the past 5 years than some council members have in 5 centuries. We ended 3 border conflicts. We provided aid to 17 worlds. Our technology revolutionized medical treatment across 12 sectors. The reptilian thing from the Saurian hegemony made a hissing sound." Counselor Zephyr looked like a dinosaur that had learned to wear clothes. His yellow eyes gleamed with contempt. "Your species still wages war among themselves," he hissed. "How can we trust you with galactic affairs?" Jake felt his hands clench into fists under the table. "That was 40 years ago. We have had global peace since the Unity Accords." "A mere blink of an eye," said the ethereal creature that represented the Etherian collective. Its form shimmered like heat waves rising from summer pavement. "We measure stability in millennia, not decades." Admiral Carter leaned forward. His weathered face showed nothing, but his voice cut through the room like a blade. "What exactly do you want from us?" "Prove your species can be trusted," Vexthara replied. The crystal formations on her head pulsed with different colors. "Submit to Council oversight. Allow us to install monitoring stations on your worlds. Accept our guidance in all matters of interstellar importance." The room went silent. Jake could hear the hum of the environmental systems and the soft breathing of his team. He looked at Lisa, whose face had gone pale. He looked at Carter, whose eyes had turned to ice. "You want us to become a protectorate?" Jake said slowly. "A supervised member state," Vexthara corrected. Her tone suggested this was perfectly reasonable. Jake had been a diplomat for 15 years. He had negotiated trade deals and peace treaties. He had smiled and nodded and found compromise where others saw only conflict. But sitting here now listening to these creatures demand that humanity bow down, he felt something break inside him. He stood up. The chair scraped against the polished floor with a sound like nails on glass. "We came here as equals seeking partnership. You offer us subjugation." He began gathering his papers. The folder full of proposals and treaties and carefully crafted compromises that had taken months to prepare. All of it useless now. "This meeting is over," he said. "Ambassador Morrison." Vexthara's voice carried a warning that made the air itself seem to vibrate. "Leaving now would be unwise. The Council has been generous in our patience." Jake stopped at the door. Behind him he could hear Lisa and Carter getting to their feet. The sound of their chairs echoed in the vast chamber like gunshots. "And humanity has been generous in ours," Jake said without turning around. "But our patience just ran out." He walked out. Lisa and Carter followed. The door slid shut behind them with a soft whisper that sounded like a sigh dot in the corridor outside. Lisa finally spoke. "Sir, what do we do now?" Jake looked at her. She was young and bright and had believed like he once had that reason and good faith could solve any problem. Now she looked lost. "Now we go home," he said, "and we tell them exactly what the Council thinks of humanity." Admiral Carter said nothing, but Jake could see the wheels turning in the old man's head. Carter had fought in the border wars. He had seen what happened when diplomacy failed. He knew what came next. They walked through the corridors of the Council station in silence. Aliens of a dozen species moved past them without a glance. The corridors were wide and clean and beautiful in the way that only absolute power could create. Everything was perfect and sterile and cold. At the docking bay, their transport waited. The human ship looked small and crude next to the elegant alien vessels around it, but it was theirs. It would take them home. As they boarded, Jake felt a weight lift from his shoulders. For 3 years he had carried the hope that somehow they could find a way to make this work. That humanity could find its place in the galactic community through patience and compromise. Now he knew the truth. The Council did not want partners, they wanted subjects. They wanted humanity to kneel and accept their place as junior members of someone else's civilization. Set course for Earth, he told the pilot, maximum speed. As their ship pulled away from the station, Jake looked back at the massive structure that housed the government of the galaxy. It looked like a work of art floating in space. Beautiful, and untouchable and utterly alien. Admiral, he said to Carter, I need you to send a message to Fleet Command. Priority Alpha, Carter nodded. What should I tell them? Tell them the talks have failed. Tell them we are coming home. And tell them to prepare for independence. Lisa looked confused. Sir, what does that mean? Jake smiled for the first time. In hours, it was not a pleasant smile. It means we are done begging for scraps from their table. If they will not accept us as equals, then we will show them what equals look like. Their ship jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, the Council station continued its slow orbit around the dead star that had once been the heart of a great civilization. The aliens in their perfect corridors continued their perfect lives, secure in their perfect certainty that they were the masters of the galaxy. They had no idea what was coming. Back on Earth, President Helen Martinez received the message from Jake Morrison while she was having breakfast. She read it twice, then set down her coffee cup with hands that shook slightly. Get me the Joint Chiefs, she said to her aide, and call an emergency session of the Security Council. It is time for humanity to stand up. The age of begging was over. The age of independence was about to begin. Admiral Frank Carter stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the largest evacuation in human history unfold before him. Hundreds of ships moved through space like a river of lights flowing toward Earth, every human citizen in council. Space was coming home. The order had gone out 6 hours after Jake Morrison walked out of that meeting. Every human diplomat, trader, scientist, and worker across the galaxy received the same message on their personal communicators. Pack only what you can carry. Evacuation begins now. Carter had expected chaos. Instead, he saw something that made him proud to be human. No panic, no confusion, just quiet determination as millions of people began the long journey home. On the mining station orbiting Kepler 442b, Amy Sullivan supervised the dismantling of the most productive rare Earth operation in the sector. The alien overseers watched in growing alarm as humans stripped every piece of equipment down to the last circuit board. You cannot simply abandon your contracts, the Centauran supervisor said. His blue skin was flushed with worry. The Council will not permit this. Amy did not look up from her tablet as she checked off another shipping container. Our contracts were with individual Council members, not the Council itself. We are fulfilling our obligations by ensuring an orderly transfer of operations. But the expertise, the technical knowledge is going with us, Amy interrupted. Along with every human engineer, geologist, and technician who made this operation possible. The supervisor watched helplessly as the humans loaded their equipment onto transport ships. Without human knowledge, the mining operation would collapse within weeks. The aliens had the tools but not the understanding to use them. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On research stations, human scientists deleted their files and packed their instruments. Trade vessels changed course for Earth. Military advisors resigned their positions and headed home. In 48 hours, humanity's presence in Council space shrank from millions to thousands. At the Galactic Trade Hub, station manager Ryan Clark watched human businesses simply close their doors. The automated systems that humans had upgraded and maintained began showing strain as backup protocols activated. Warning lights flashed on control panels that had been green for decades. This is madness, the Valerian trade minister muttered as he watched the evacuation ships depart. They are abandoning everything they built. Ryan sealed the last shipping container. We are not abandoning anything. We are taking it with us? The trade minister did not understand. None of them did. They thought humanity was running away in defeat. They did not realize that every human leaving carried knowledge and experience that could not be replaced. The galaxy was about to learn the difference between having technology and understanding it. On Earth, President Helen Martinez addressed the United Nations Emergency Assembly. The Great Hall was packed with representatives from every nation. Their faces showed the strain of the past few days. Effective immediately, all human assets in Council space are being recalled, she announced. We are withdrawing from all treaties, trade agreements, and cooperative ventures with Council member species. The Japanese representative raised her hand. Madam President, the economic impact will be significant, Martinez acknowledged. But freedom has always come at a cost. We will not accept second-class citizenship in our own galaxy. The Russian delegate stood up. What about our citizens who choose to remain in Council space? They are free to make that choice, Martinez replied. But they will receive no support. From Earth, we are building a new future, and it requires total commitment. Most chose to come home. The few who remained found themselves isolated and unwelcome as the Council species began to understand what was happening. Humanity was not just leaving. They were taking their secrets with them. Dr. Rebecca Stone led a team of scientists in packing up the quantum research facility on Proxima Station. The work they had done there would have taken Council scientists centuries to duplicate. Now it was going back to Earth where it belonged. What about the joint research projects? Asked her Etherean colleague. The alien scientist had worked with humans for 20 years and considered them friends. Those end today, Rebecca said sadly. I wish it could be different, but your council made their choice. The Etherean's form flickered with distress. But the breakthroughs we were so close to will happen on Earth, Rebecca finished, with human scientists working for human interests. She felt sorry for the individual aliens who had worked beside humans as equals. But the Council had made it clear that equality was not on offer. If humanity was to be treated as children, then they would take their toys and go home. The evacuation continued day and night. Transport ships arrived at collection points across the galaxy to pick up human personnel. The ships were crowded, but no one complained. They were going home to build something better. On the border world of Kepler 438b, General Paul Roberts supervised the withdrawal of human military advisors. The Rigelian Defense Force had relied on human expertise for decades. Their early warning systems and defensive strategies were all based on human knowledge. You cannot leave us defenseless, pleaded General Dexmoron. The Void Hunters could attack at any time. Roberts felt sympathy for the alien general, but his orders were clear. We offered partnership. You chose supervision. Now you can handle your own defense. The Rigelian's mandibles clicked with anxiety. But without human systems, we are blind. Our sensors cannot penetrate the void sector. Then you better figure out how to fix that, Roberts replied, because we are done holding your hand. As the human advisors departed, the Rigelian defenses began to fail. Warning systems that had operated flawlessly for decades started showing errors. The sophisticated sensor networks that monitored the dangerous void sector went dark one by one, the pattern repeated across the galaxy. Human expertise had become so integrated into alien systems that its removal caused immediate problems. The Council had assumed that human knowledge was easily replaceable. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In the depths of space between stars, Admiral Carter reviewed the latest reports from the evacuation fleet. The numbers were staggering. 2 million humans returning to Earth, thousands of ships, technology and knowledge worth trillions of credits. Sir, his aide reported, we are receiving distress calls from 17 different systems. Their infrastructure is failing faster than expected. Carter smiled grimly. Send them our regrets. Tell them we are busy. The evacuation continued. Humanity was coming home, and they were bringing everything they had learned in 50 years among the stars. The council thought they were losing junior partners. In reality, they were losing the foundation of their civilization. Back on Earth, the preparations for independence accelerated. Shipyards expanded, research facilities doubled their staff. The knowledge and experience of 2 million returning humans was being poured into humanity's own projects. The galaxy was about to change forever. 3 weeks after the last human transport ship left Council space, the cracks began to show. On the industrial world of Proxima 7, massive manufacturing complexes that had hummed with perfect efficiency for decades started breaking down. The alien workforce stood helplessly as production lines ground to a halt. Foreman Crystal watched smoke pour from the main assembly unit and felt his stomach drop. The humans had upgraded these systems so thoroughly that going back to the old methods was impossible. His workers knew how to operate the machinery, but not how to fix it when things went wrong. "Send for the maintenance teams," he ordered his assistant. "Sir, the maintenance teams were all human," came the reply. "They left with the others." Crystal stared at the smoking wreckage of what had been the most advanced manufacturing facility in the sector. Without human expertise, production had already dropped by 60%. At this rate, they would be completely shut down within a month. Similar disasters unfolded across the galaxy. The Etherian Collective discovered that their energy grid was failing without human technicians to calibrate the quantum matrices. The systems were so complex that even their most brilliant scientists could not understand them fully. Technician Gothara floated before the massive energy core that powered half the Etherian homeworld. Warning lights flashed across the control panels like angry red stars. The quantum resonance was becoming unstable, and she had no idea how to fix it. "The humans left detailed manuals," her assistant reported. "But they are written in mathematical languages we do not fully comprehend." Velthara's form flickered with frustration. "How did we become so dependent on alien knowledge?" "The humans offered such elegant solutions," the assistant replied. "Their methods increased our efficiency by 300%. We never thought to question how they worked." The Centauran Federation faced their own crisis. Their interstellar communication network began experiencing massive delays and signal degradation. The human-designed subspace amplifiers that had revolutionized galactic communication were failing one by one. Communication Director Zephanol watched his screens fill with error messages. Messages that should have taken minutes to cross the galaxy now took hours. Some were not getting through at all. "Can we not simply replace the human components?" he asked his technical team. "The components are not the problem," his chief engineer replied. "The humans redesigned our entire communication protocol. Without their software, the hardware is useless." "Then we revert to the old systems." "Sir, we dismantled the old systems 20 years ago. The humans convinced us their method was superior." Zephanol felt a chill run through his blue skin. The Centauran Federation had been built on rapid communication across vast distances. Without it, they were just a collection of isolated worlds. The medical crisis was even worse. On the hospital station orbiting Vega Prime, Dr. Velendra watched patients die from diseases that should have been easily treatable. The human-designed medical nanobots that had revolutionized treatment for 17 different species were shutting down without proper maintenance. "The nanobots are programmed with human genetic markers," she explained to her desperate staff. "They will only respond to human operators. Without the activation codes, they are becoming inert." "But these patients will die," her assistant protested. "I know," Valandra replied sadly, "but there is nothing we can do. We threw away our old medical techniques when the humans offered us better ones." The crisis reports flooded into the council chambers like a digital tsunami. High Chancellor Vexthara stood before the assembled delegates and felt the weight of their accumulated failures crushing down on her crystalline form. "The situation is worse than we anticipated," she admitted. "Humanity's integration into our infrastructure was far more extensive than our security assessments indicated." The Valerian delegate rose to his full imposing height. His massive form cast shadows across the chamber as he spoke. "You assured us that humanity's departure would be a minor inconvenience. Our trade routes are collapsing." Our manufacturing capacity has been cut in half. Our defensive grids are failing. The humans were supposed to be the junior partners, added the crystalline collective's representative. Light fractured through her form in angry prisms. How did they become so integral to our operations? Vexthara's structure dimmed with shame. It appears we underestimated their integration capabilities. Integration capabilities, Counselor? Zephyr hissed. You mean we let them make themselves indispensable while we were looking down on them? The truth was becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. For 50 years, humanity had been quietly improving alien technology. They had upgraded systems, redesigned protocols, and trained alien workers. But they had done it in a way that only they fully understood. The humans had not just been helping their alien allies, they had been making themselves necessary. Every improvement came with dependencies that only human knowledge could satisfy. Every upgrade required human expertise to maintain. This was planned, the Etherian representative said. The humans knew this would happen. No, Vexthara replied. I believe they were simply being thorough. Humans have a tendency to over-engineer their solutions. They build redundancies and fail-safes that we never bothered to understand. But even as she said it, Vexthara began to wonder. Had humanity really been so naive? Or had they been preparing for this moment all along? On the border world of Kepler 438b, General Dexmoor received the news that his early warning systems had completely failed. The sophisticated sensor networks that monitored the dangerous void sector were now completely dark. His defenses were blind. How long until we can restore sensor coverage? He asked his chief technician. Without human maintenance protocols, sir, it could take years. The sensors were designed with human redundancy systems that we never learned to operate. And if the Void Hunters attack while we are blind? The technicians. Silence was answer enough. The Rigelian Defense Force had become completely dependent on human expertise. Without it, they were helpless. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. The Council's mighty civilization was revealing itself to be a house of cards built on human knowledge. And the humans were gone. In the depths of space, monitoring stations detected the first signs of movement from the void sector. The ancient enemy that had been held at bay by human-designed defenses was beginning to stir. The galaxy's protectors were failing just as the greatest threat in 1,000 years began to wake. The Council had thought they were the masters of the galaxy. Now they were learning that they had been passengers all along. The humans had been driving, and now the car was crashing. High Chancellor Vexthara stood alone in her private chambers and contemplated the magnitude of their mistake. They had offered humanity subjugation when they should have offered partnership. They had demanded submission when they should have shown respect. Now it was too late. The humans were gone, and the galaxy was falling apart without them. The Council faced a choice: swallow their pride and beg for help, or watch their civilization collapse. Either way, humanity had won. 6 weeks after humanity walked away from the Council, desperation had replaced arrogance in the halls of galactic power. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for decades now experienced constant delays and failures. The human-designed logistical algorithms that had optimized shipping across the galaxy were gone, replaced by systems that were barely functional on the trade station orbiting Rigel Prime. Station Master Kolvex watched cargo ships drift aimlessly in space. Without human traffic control protocols, the sophisticated docking procedures had become chaos. Ships that should have been loaded and departed in hours now waited for days. How many vessels are we processing per day? He asked his harried staff. 40% of normal capacity, came the grim reply. The automated systems keep crashing without human oversight. Kolvex felt his tentacles writhe with stress. The Rigel Trade Hub was the economic heart of 3-star systems. If it failed, billions of beings would suffer. But the humans who had made it work were gone, and no one else understood their methods. On the border world of Kepler 438b, General Dexmoor faced an even worse crisis. His early warning systems had been dark for weeks. The sensors that monitored The dangerous void sector had fallen silent one by one. His forces were flying blind while ancient enemies stirred in the darkness. Movement detected in Sector 7, his tactical officer reported, but we cannot identify the source. Vexmoron studied the incomplete data on his screens. Shadows and echoes were all they had now. Could it be the Void Hunters? Unknown, sir. Without the human sensor networks, we cannot penetrate their stealth fields. The general felt old fear creep up his spine. The Void Hunters had nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. Only human ingenuity had found a way to detect and counter their attacks. Now that protection was gone? Send a message to Fleet Command, he ordered. Request immediate reinforcement of all border worlds. But Fleet Command had problems of their own. The sophisticated battle management systems that had coordinated galactic defense for decades were failing. Ship captains who had relied on human-designed tactical computers now found themselves fighting with outdated equipment. Admiral Velthara floated in the command center of the Etherian battle fleet and watched her forces struggle with basic maneuvers. Her ships kept drifting out of formation as their navigation systems provided conflicting data. The quantum positioning arrays are becoming unstable, her tactical officer reported. Without human calibration, they cannot maintain accurate readings. Can we not recalibrate them ourselves? Velthara asked. We have tried, sir. But the humans used mathematical principles that we do not fully understand. Each attempt makes the problem worse. Back on Earth, President Helen Martinez received her first communication from the Council in 2 months. The message did not come from High Chancellor Vexthara, but from counselors after himself. For the proud Saurian to contact humanity directly was a significant loss of face. President Martinez, the translation matrix struggled with Zephyr-S tone. The Council requests immediate consultation on several technical matters. We are prepared to offer substantial compensation for human expertise. Martinez shared the message with her cabinet in the Oval Office. Secretary of Defense Paul Roberts shook his head. They still do not get it. They think this is about money. What do we tell them? Asked Secretary of State Karen Walsh. Nothing, Martinez replied. We are busy building our own future. And they were busy. The recalled citizens had not returned to a stagnant Earth, but to a world transformed. The resources and knowledge gained from 50 years in Council space were being poured into humanity's own expansion. The Luna shipyards that had once been a modest facility now sprawled across the moon's surface. Admiral Frank Carter stood in the main construction bay and watched the birth of humanity's first truly independent fleet. The ships were sleek and efficient, incorporating the best of human engineering without any alien dependencies. Every system was designed, built, and maintained by human hands. How many ships will we have operational by year's end? Martinez asked during her weekly briefing. 50 heavy cruisers, 200 frigates, and our first deep space exploration vessels, Carter reported. All crewed by humans who know these systems completely. The ships were more than just weapons. They were symbols of human independence. Each vessel carried the message that humanity no longer needed Council approval or Council technology. They were building their own destiny among the stars. Meanwhile, the brightest human minds worked on projects the Council had never imagined. Dr. Rebecca Stone led a team developing new faster-than-light communication systems that did not rely on Council subspace networks. Her laboratory hummed with activity as scientists pushed the boundaries of known physics. We are not just breaking free from their technology, she explained to her team. We are surpassing it. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning when Dr. Stone's team successfully transmitted data across 12 light-years using pure human technology. The message was simple, but its implications were enormous. Humanity could now communicate across the galaxy without using Council infrastructure. Similar advances happened in every field. Human scientists freed from Council oversight made discoveries that had been impossible under alien supervision. Medical researchers developed treatments that worked specifically for human biology. Engineers designed ships that matched human needs and preferences. The transformation was visible from space. Earth's orbital infrastructure expanded daily as construction crews worked around the clock. New space stations appeared in Earth's outer system. Mining operations in the asteroid belt increased production to fuel the expansion. Most importantly, humanity was not alone in their rejection of Council authority. The smaller species that had been ignored or exploited by the major powers watched human independence with growing interest. The Altarian refugees who had been denied Council aid found sanctuary in human space. The mining worlds of the Kepler Collective broke their contracts with Council corporations and signed new agreements with Earth. "We are receiving applications for alliance from 47 different species," reported Secretary Walsh during a cabinet meeting. "They want to join what they are calling the Human Commonwealth." "What do they offer?" Martinez asked. "Resources, technology, military support? But mostly they offer something the Council never gave them: respect." The Human Commonwealth was growing faster than anyone had expected. Species that had been overlooked by the Council found that humans treated them as equals. Trade agreements were fair. Military protection was freely given. Technology was shared rather than hoarded. Meanwhile, the Council's crisis deepened. The Void Hunters had begun probing attacks on border worlds. Several colonies had gone silent. Without human sensor networks and defense systems, the galaxy's protectors were helpless against their ancient enemy. High Chancellor Vexthara stood before an emergency session of the Council and delivered news that would have been unthinkable months before. "We must consider requesting assistance from the Human Commonwealth." The chamber erupted in angry voices. The idea of asking humans for help was humiliating beyond measure. But as reports of Void Hunter attacks continued to arrive, pride became a luxury they could no longer afford. The mighty Galactic Council was about to discover what it meant to beg. 1 year after Jake Morrison walked out of the Council chambers, the galaxy looked completely different. The mighty Galactic Council that had ruled for millennia was crumbling while humanity thrived in ways no one had imagined possible. President Helen Martinez stood on the observation deck of the Earth Federation starship Independence and watched the fleet that had gathered to escort her to the Council station. 50 ships moved in perfect formation around her flagship. Each vessel was a masterpiece of human engineering that surpassed anything the Council had ever built. The Independence itself was 3 times larger than any Council dreadnought, and carried technology that made alien scientists weep with envy. "Madam President," Admiral Carter reported from the bridge, "we are receiving surrender requests from 17 Council member worlds. They want protection from the Void Hunters." Martinez nodded without surprise. The ancient enemy had returned with a vengeance, and the Council's broken defenses could not stop them. 3 entire star systems had already fallen to the creatures. From the dark between stars, only worlds under Human Commonwealth protection remain safe. "What is our current membership?" she asked. 63 species have joined the Commonwealth," Secretary Walsh replied. "Another 20 are in the application process. We are processing requests faster than we can review them." The Human Commonwealth had grown beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Species that had suffered under Council rule flocked to join an alliance based on equality rather than domination. The small mining worlds, the refugee populations, the independent traders who had been ignored by the major powers all found welcome in human space. The transformation had not been without challenges. Earth's population had doubled as humans returned from across the galaxy, bringing alien refugees with them. New cities sprawled across continents as humanity made room for their new allies. But the energy and knowledge of 63 different species had accelerated human development beyond all expectations. Dr. Rebecca Stone's communication breakthrough had been just the beginning. Human scientists working with alien colleagues had developed faster than light travel that did not require Council infrastructure, medical advances that benefited all species, defensive technologies that made Void Hunter attacks ineffective. The Council station appeared on the main screen, looking smaller and less impressive than Martinez remembered. The once mighty symbol of galactic power now seemed like a relic from a bygone age. Emergency lights flickered along its hull where maintenance systems had failed. They are requesting permission to come aboard, Carter reported with barely concealed amusement. High Chancellor Vexthara wishes to meet in our conference room, Martinez smiled. Tell her I will be happy to receive her in 1 hour. The delay was calculated. For 50 years humans had waited in council chambers while aliens made them beg for acceptance. Now the tables had turned and Martinez wanted the council to understand their new position in the galaxy. When Vexthara finally arrived, her crystalline form looked dimmer than before. The proud Chancellor who had once looked down on humanity now seemed fragile and desperate. She was accompanied by Councillor Zefter, whose reptilian features could not hide his humiliation. President Martinez, Vexthara began, we appreciate you agreeing to this meeting. The situation has become quite serious. I imagine it has, Martinez replied calmly. The Void Hunters do not negotiate. No, they do not, Zefter admitted. We have lost contact with 37 worlds. Our defensive networks have completely failed. Without human expertise, we cannot even detect their approach. Martinez gestured to the viewport where the council station hung in space, surrounded by debris from failed systems. You had human expertise, you chose to reject it. We made mistakes, Vexthara acknowledged. The admission seemed to cause her physical pain. We underestimated humanity's contributions to galactic stability. We are prepared to offer full council membership with all privileges and responsibilities. That is generous, Martinez replied. But we are no longer interested in membership. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Zefter's claws clicked nervously against the conference table. Then what do you want? Nothing, Martinez said simply. We want nothing from you. We have built our own civilization, our own alliances, our own future. The question is what do you want from us? Vexthara's form flickered with desperation. We need your help. Our infrastructure is collapsing. Our defenses have failed. The Void Hunters are destroying everything we built. Without human assistance, the council will fall. And you're offering what in return? Full membership, equal voting rights, a permanent seat on the High Council, access to all council technologies. Martinez shook her head. We already have those things in our own Commonwealth. We have something better. We have partnerships based on mutual respect rather than grudging acceptance. She stood and walked to the viewport. Beyond the glass, the sleek forms of the human Commonwealth fleet could be seen. Ships from dozens of species flying together as equals. We are not here to rejoin your council. We are here to offer you a choice. What choice? Zefter asked. You can continue trying to maintain your failing systems alone, or you can apply for associate membership in the human Commonwealth. The suggestion hit the aliens like a physical blow. The idea of the mighty Galactic Council applying for membership in a human alliance would have been laughable a year ago. Now, as their worlds burned and their people died, it seemed like their only hope. The human Commonwealth operates on principles of equality and mutual benefit, Martinez continued. Every member species has an equal voice regardless of size or power. We share technology freely. We resolve disputes through mediation. We protect each other's sovereignty. She turned back to face the alien delegates. If you are interested in joining us, the application process is simple. Demonstrate that you can treat other species as equals. Prove that you value cooperation over domination. Show us that you have learned something from this experience. What if we refuse? Vexthara asked quietly. What if we continue as we are? Then you continue as you are, Martinez replied. Alone, declining, becoming increasingly irrelevant as the galaxy moves forward without you. The Void Hunters will finish what your own arrogance started. The truth hung in the air like a death sentence. The Council could submit to human leadership or face extinction. There were no other options? We will need time to consider your offer. Zefter said. Of course, Martinez agreed. But do not take too long. The Commonwealth is expanding rapidly and we may not have positions available indefinitely. As the alien delegates departed, Martinez felt a deep satisfaction. Humanity had come to the Council as supplicants seeking acceptance. They were leaving. as the architects of a new galactic order. The species that had once looked down on humans now begged for their protection. The human Commonwealth fleet departed the Council Station and jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, the dying symbol of the old order continued its slow orbit around a dead star. The future belonged to those who chose cooperation over domination, equality over hierarchy. The talks had ended abruptly 1 year ago when humanity walked out. Now they were ending again as humanity walked away from the past and into a future they had built themselves. The galaxy would never be the same.